Hi, Warren Eckstein here. I've been talking to you guys for over 41 years on the radio and TV. And one of the most common questions I get asked about is why my dog is acting aggressively towards strangers. The first thing you need to try to do is figure out or pinpoint the situation when the behavior begins. Is it every stranger that he comes across that he acts aggressive or she acts aggressive? Is it a particular type of person? Is it men? Is it women? Is it kids? Is it people in uniform? Is it someone with a mustache? Someone with long hair? Someone wearing a hat? Someone who has a real deep tone of voice? Someone who walks kind of strange? Does your dog get aggressive when a stranger comes to your home or when they see them in the street? These are all things you need to understand to figure out how to resolve the aggressive behavior. Now, answering these questions will make a big difference in determining the cause of the problem and the type of aggression we're talking about. There's two different types of aggression. Let's say you're taking your dog for a walk on the street and he sees another dog or he sees a person and becomes aggressive towards that dog or person. That's kind of an interesting approach. Remember now, the dog is generally on a 6-foot leash. When a dog is on a 6-foot leash, that leash now becomes its territory. It becomes its home. So the normally friendly dog at home or in the backyard or running loose can sometimes assert aggressive behavior when they're on a leash, again, being possessive over you and the territory around that 6-foot radius. So that's why it's so critical to socialize your dog early on. It makes all the difference in the world. And it also requires some good basic training to establish a way to talk to the dog in a positive way rather than yelling all the time. It can also be a past trauma. Let's say, for example, my two guys, I adopted Molly and Willie a little over 2 years ago. I guess it's almost 3 years now. Wow, time flies. Molly is a very mellow, calm dog, lovable dog, abused. Willie, on the other hand, is one of those crazy little dogs, and he was obviously beaten and abused. I mean, they really treated these dogs horribly, especially around the tail area where they docked him without anesthesia. They cut his, God knows what they did. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is because it's that type of trauma where someone touching the dog's feet or someone hurting the dog in the back that can cause a problem as well. In both cases, they can be resolved. I resolved Willie's aggressive behavior by simply counter-conditioning it. In other words, when I touched his paws, it was always positive. When I patted him on the back by his butt, it was always positive. It doesn't happen overnight, but positive reinforcement and training and gradual desensitization or counter-conditioning will help alleviate what's causing the dog to react that way. Now, it's not going to happen overnight because dogs, as you said before, and you can watch the YouTube on associative memory, they learn through association. So if the dog, let's say the dog is fearful of men in beards, and I've had this situation hundreds and hundreds of times. And in one case, I actually grew a beard to emulate what the dog was fearful of. What you try to do is find people that you can work with. Let's say you have a neighbor or friend down the block who has a beard or wears a hat, whatever the dog might have been aggressive towards or fearful of. And you have that person walking down the street, you pre-plan it when you're taking your dog for a walk. Everybody knows the dog's name, tosses a toy or a treat on the floor and walks by. What happens is the dog gradually starts associating positive things with this guy with the beard, which could help resolve the big problem in the long run. So remember, if your dog is showing aggressive behavior, especially towards strangers or situations like that, it can be resolved. You can do it on your own, but sometimes it's best to get a professional behaviorist or a trainer you have a lot of confidence in to work with you. Remember, so many dogs wind up at shelters. The majority of dogs euthanized at shelters are killed because of behavioral issues, such as aggression towards strangers. It can be resolved. Don't give up. Practice every day, little by little. I promise you, the dog will come around. Yeah, they're not going to be Rin Tin Tin, but that doesn't mean they have to be Cujo. I'm Warren Eckstein, and don't miss the radio show.